There are a lot of tendons in the human body. We have a lot of tendons in the abdominal area. We have a lot of tendons. We have more tendon in the hands and feet than anywhere else. And this is why in Qigong, we focus a lot on the hands and feet. The exercise we're going to get into in a little bit, the breathing exercise, is actually going to stimulate the flow of energy through the tendons while we're working the heart. In the last workshop, we discussed how the heart is not just an organ, it's a muscle. To understand that the muscles in your body are not actually muscles, they're your heart. So it's your heart all over your body. But your heart, and now I want to take this further, is not also just muscle, it's also tendon. There's a lot of tendon that works into the heart as well. And this is why the heart energizes the muscles and the tendons, each in specific ways. It energizes the tendons even more so through breath and stretching. So, you ever do some deep stretching when you first started stretching and your heart would go like this? What's going on? All I'm doing is stretching. I'm not even running and my heart's pounding like crazy. That's one, because of the release of energy from the tendons themselves, but also because of the energy that the heart is giving the tendons. To working the heart, stretching those tendons. And the more these tendons stretch, sorry Michael, excuse me, the more that these tendons stretch, the stronger they get. They're like this. Okay? Now, if a tendon is supple, it's nutriated, it has oxygen, and it's hydrated, it's very strong. I can just keep pulling it. It's very strong. Now, if I have one and it's weaker, and it doesn't have, where is it? It doesn't actually have the nutrients to support it, has a weak spot. Here's your shatter point. See how easy that was? Okay? It's very, very important that the tendons are nutriated. Okay, so here's the understanding. Your muscles, no matter what, will age. They will deteriorate and eventually may fail you the older we get. There's nothing we can do to stop it. We can prevent and prolong, but we can't stop it. But if the tendons are used properly, they're cultivated properly through your whole life, they will last you your whole life. Same with your cartilage. If they're used properly, not compressed, and abused so much, they too will also last you your whole life. Ligaments, same thing. These three structures can last you your whole life. But what do we see in the West? We see more tendon injuries. We see constant problems in cartilage deterioration from pressure on joints, maybe because of the way people work, the way they stand, the way they take care of themselves or don't take care of themselves, okay? And, of course, ligaments as well. These things are not being nutriated. They're not being hydrated, they're not being exercised properly, and they're probably being compressed in the wrong ways. Also in the West, the mentality of exercise is focused around the muscle. So you have a lot of gyms with a lot of weights, where people are pumping their weights. Well, what happens if I build a house and I use Lego to build my foundation and solid steel to build my roof? What do I got? Oh, I got a disaster waiting to happen, all right, for sure. So I go to the gym and all I do is pump weights. I don't focus on my tendons, I don't focus on the cartilage, I don't focus on my ligaments, but my God, am I getting biceps? And so now the system can't support itself. So this muscle is 10 times stronger than this muscle, and what's happening? Where's the war? The war is in my joint. That's where the war is. Because one muscle being stronger than the other muscle, whoop, because one muscle, thank you, one muscle that's stronger than the other muscle will damage the joint. And it will damage the joint severely. This is why in Qigong we focus on an all-body system. You don't work your legs one day, your biceps the next day, your triceps the next day. Everything is worked every day. The difference there instead is one day will be a little easier on the body, more relaxed, maybe more of a Tai Chi flow, very soft, very supple. Maybe the next day very hard and vigorous. You know, a lot of cardio, maybe a lot of hitting the body, that kind of thing. And then the next day, meditative maybe, focus internally. You know, so there's different approaches to a Qigong practice. It's not the same thing, or should I say, it shouldn't be the same thing every day. Now, you get a lot of families. You get a lot of maybe people who become famous with Qigong, okay? Some of you here, I know, have gotten involved in that type of thing, and you begin to discover the power that those teachers or those families start to hold over the system. You can't do any other system, you can only do my system, this is the way it's done. These are the only exercises you will practice, this is the only approach you're allowed to take. Why would that possibly be when there's so many different types of people? Especially if it's coming from an understanding of traditional Chinese medicine, which has a strong core belief that there are no symptoms, there's only people. Meaning that each person must be liberated in their health in their own way. Some people the same, some people not. But each person has to find their own signature of their healing. And so this is why I found it very important that when I was forming Qicology, that I made sure that it was a system that people were able to pick and choose what worked for them. To focus on their weakness. We don't all have the same weaknesses in here, do we? Every one of us has our own different weaknesses, our own different strengths. Now the egoic mind will only go to the strength and work on the strength. Hey, I'm good at balancing postures, so I'm going to do balancing postures. But wow, I really suck at doing squats, so I'm not going to do squats. That's not how it works. If I'm really good at doing standing postures and balancing postures, then that's what I'm going to do the least amount of. And if I'm horrible at doing squats, then that's what I need to do the most of. Because I need to strengthen my weaknesses, not strengthen my strengths. That'll leave me very imbalanced. Again, I'm going back to the steel rooftop with the Lego foundation. It's just not going to work. So this is something that I really want you guys to be able to grasp. But this is also why I am constantly pushing self-practice. To practice at home. Not just to come to class and do it, but to do it at home. If you come to class, you will learn the scientific formulation of Qigong. You will learn Qigong itself as a system, but you will not learn yourself in Qigong. You will not learn yourself as a Qigong body. You will not learn about yourself on the deep level or the deep understanding that is within you on that level. You will not feel the actual energy properly either. The energy you feel in your hands, and that feels pretty powerful, is actually very lame in comparison to what you can feel internally and what you can do internally. This is surface. This is the root internally. I had one student who had been with me for a couple years. She never did a practice on her own, finally started. After about a week or two of doing her own practice, she sent me an email saying she could not believe how liberating it was for her to actually do her own practice and how scared she was to start. Because all she kept thinking of was, I won't know what to do. But yet, every time this person said this to me, I kept saying, just do it and you will know what to do, I guarantee you. She finally started to do her own practice. Guess what? She knew what to do. She followed it. She didn't control it and told her what to do. So you start doing an exercise and you're doing it, and all of a sudden, the next one comes into your mind. You stop for a moment, and then you move into that one. You know, you go a bit longer. Every time you pause, or while you're doing the exercises, another one will come to mind. And then you follow that one. And what is that? What is that that's coming to your mind? Anyone?
It's your own conscience, it's your path.
Yeah, it's your inner teacher. It's your higher self. It's you connecting and communicating with you. And what greater communion, you know, than to be able to commune with your higher self and to be taught and directed by that, rather than by someone else. You know, any Qigong teacher slash master, whatever they want to call themselves, will either facilitate you or try to control you. Be very aware of the teachers you fall in with. Find the facilitator, not the one who's trying to control you, okay? That's very important, because there's power in Qigong, and there is a lot of power in it, but it's your power. It should be your power, not their power, not something you're giving them. Or you might as well just go back to the doctor. You know what I mean? Really. So this is important to know, okay? To be self-empowered is to be unshakable, to be unmovable, but yet completely compassionate within that. It's not a cold stance, okay? It's not a, you know, I am me and I'm not going to shake or move because of, you know, of who I am. It's not that type of understanding either. It's not a stubbornness. It's quite the opposite. It's a complete openness. And by embracing that openness, you find your strength.